Down bad, tryna tie my ends. Ain't worried about shit but a bag and my family friends. All my life been taking L's right there to the chin. One day I tell my story when I find where to begin. Down bad, I ain't worried about shit but feeling in my bag.
Hell, waiting on $1 million plate. Hey, I can't wait to get on that tail. Hey, you want to smoke? Don't taste lonely, man. Yeah, boy, ain't no way out of this one, boy.
Bags on my way to some more cash. I started up from scratch. I had to go and get a couple packs. A nigga came a long way from.
This is Bag Tasters Only here with Tim Hanson, the producer and engineer over at NorthVillage Recording. You want to tell us a little about yourself, Tim?
Sure. My name's Tim Hanson. I'm the owner and head engineer here at NorthVillage Recording, as well as the owner and head guy over at the Mixing Boutique in St. Louis, South City. I'm from Columbia, Missouri originally. I grew up here, lived most of my life here, reside in St. Louis currently. And yeah, moved back and forth between the two studios, sometimes other cities, and produce records, run recording sessions, a lot of mixing, a lot of mastering. Yeah, that's kind of it in the short there.
Yes, sir. So Tim, what first got you into music, or who inspired you to start making music or pursue your producer-engineer career, or engineer-producer career?
Well, I think my background, I come from a really musical household. My dad was an elementary school music teacher in the Columbia area for a long time, and other places around in Missouri before that. So just growing up in a really diverse musical household, we listened to a lot of vinyl and cassettes and stuff, because I'm old as fuck. And my parents had that stuff, so we listened to a lot of different stuff though. I mean, we could go from the Beatles to Miles Davis to James Brown to Michael Jackson, that could be, Led Zeppelin. My parents just listened to a lot of different stuff, so it kind of refined my palate, not listening to one thing all the time, but also growing up with a father who was a music educator. And, his side hustle was teaching piano lessons and vocal lessons and instrument lessons, and he did that in our house. So from the time I was in diapers, I was kind of in an environment where I was watching somebody who is, a really passionate professional in music kind of produce or coach or teach people at a young age. I mean, he usually worked with young people, how to sing and, how to, hold pitch and how to take care of your vocal and just lots of those things. So I think producing sessions comes really naturally to me because I was really kind of in a similar environment, literally from the time I was born.
Yes, sir.
And as a kid, I used to, I loved music. Obviously, I listened to a lot of music, started developing my own music collection. My parents got me a boom box when I was a kid. That was one of those Sony boom boxes with 2 decks. And it had a little microphone built into it. So I used to, go buy blank tapes, and kids in the neighborhood would come over, and we'd do exactly what we're doing right now, mocked up radio interview type things. You know what I'm saying? And I would record that. I'd put the boombox in the middle of the room and try to find the place where it picked us up the best. I took that boombox apart and put it back together 2 or 3 times, trying to figure out how everything inside of it worked. So I've always kind of been very inclined to capturing sound, obviously, and manipulating it, and then also understanding how the gear works. And I mean, there's pieces on this board that I built myself from scratch, and this hairball preamp came as pieces, and I put the capacitors on the circuit board and soldered it all in and tested it out, and didn't blow anything up. So, but I mean, having that kind of tinkering, that kind of itch, you know what I'm saying, has always kind of been around me, So as I got into high school and stuff, a lot of my friends started getting into rap, a lot, and a lot of my friends were doing songwriting and stuff too. And I always gravitated to those people socially, because I always would catch what they were doing and be oh man, throw my 2 cents in, you know what I'm saying. And eventually that led to doing a lot of beat production. I kind of started getting into making music, doing beats. I was really inspired by Just Blaze and Kanye and Scott Storch and Pharrell, and kind of this big rise in producers becoming artists. You know what I'm saying? Like catching that focus and people respecting what the guys who were making this music were doing.
Like behind the scenes.
Yeah, so I mean, like I got into Fruity Loops, man. It was like Fruity Loops 2, you know. Like I go back with Fruity Loops. It's on version 20 now. And I did that for like some years, man, and kind of beat that to death. And after a while, I mean, we were stocking up records, and we didn't have any way to like make them. Yeah. So I tried to take these guys to like other recording studios, and we just like weren't always like satisfied with what was going on. So it's like I really need to start like figuring out how to record and mix well. Yeah. And when I did that, and really started getting into that and working with like, you know, some of the guys that I came up with, we put out some records that people really liked, and it kind of snowballed into a career. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just again, I think for me, it was just the tenacity of my own like subconscious. Like I can't go to bed until I figure out how to do this. You know, like a lot of late nights and lack of sleep. I mean, if you look at my eyes, man, you know what I'm saying? Now it's kids, you know what I'm saying? But before, it was just like, I'm not going to bed until I understand how to do this. Now it's just every day.
Totally agree.
You know, beating that to death until, you know, again, like I had a job when I moved back from St. Louis the first time that I eventually had to quit because I started running a studio out of my house, and I was looking at everything on paper and being like, man, I'm losing money going to work. And that's like what I tell a lot of like artists. They're like, oh man, when should I like take that leap, you know, and just try to like live off my craft? Like, dude, don't cut yourself off of your finances, because that's what's always going to like literally bankroll you have to invest into like making a music career work, you know what I'm saying? So like, and obviously like my shoes are a little bit different because I like own a business and I produce, I'm not an artist, but you know, when you have to quit your job, like when going to work is making you lose opportunities and like literally lose money, that's when you need to quit. That's when it's time, you know what I'm saying? At least time to try. You know what I'm saying? So
investing your money into your side hustle. So.
I mean, anything, man. Like if you're going to build something up, you know, I mean, the first like 10 years I really got into this professionally, I was paying my bills and buying gear.
Yep.
That's it. Like up until like very, very recently, like everything that I've done has been self-financed. Exactly. Like every microphone you see in this studio, like I didn't go get a loan from a bank to get it, because I wasn't at that point yet. I couldn't, you know. No, I mean like literally though. But it is the difference between like, you know what I'm saying, I wasn't buying shoes like this like 5 years ago. And these aren't even like, you know, these aren't like $100 shoes. You know what I'm saying? But like back then it's just like, man, I'm gonna make decisions that I know are going to benefit myself on the back end. Because once I got into recording like professionally, obviously I was doing like a lot of like rap and hip hop records and urban based music. But when people were calling me that were like, yeah, we want to record our band or we want to do this, and like I didn't want to tell people no.
Right.
And it was a challenge. It was like, I have to learn how to do this now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's going to make me better. I always looked at it like that. Like, man, if I can like produce like rock bands and country artists, you know what I'm saying? It's got to elevate me on the other end, and it has. I mean, like everything in this field just feeds other stuff. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It like opens up your, you know, your palette.
Yes, sir.
You know, so like when people come and they want something specific, like you can chase that down quicker. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because you've dabbled in enough genres and worked with enough like people that are on all sides of the creative spectrum to be able to like service all of those people. And that became my goal when I was in the house. Like, okay, like people are calling, I can't even do this stuff in my house. Mm-hmm. I don't have the interface, I don't have the microphones, I don't have the rooms, you know what I'm saying? So it got to that point where I was like, okay, now I have to get this out of the house. Mm-hmm. I have to go get a building, I have to, you know what I'm saying, I have to like do that. Because again, it was starting to cost me money. You know what I'm saying? It was all like an evolution, you know what I'm saying? From literally like a home studio with a Pro Tools starter kit, you know, just like completely home studio setup, and just like getting better stuff, like work just keeps coming in, and then it's like, okay, now I have to go do this. And that's when I started working out of this building. I moved all my studio stuff down here. The guy that owns the place used to come to the wine bar that I managed when I first moved back from St. Louis, and you know, it was the job I had to leave, essentially, to like, you know, get all of this stuff going. And like I ended up like relinking him. He was a silent partner in that business, and he was like, yeah, I've got some spots, like let's go check it out. And he worked with me to like make sure I could like build this thing up, you know, because the first 3 years down here was, again, it was just like every dollar pretty much is coming back in. I got to put it back in, you know, so. And now it's at the point again where I got to the point where it's like, we wanted to move back to St. Louis. I brought in John and Mason. You know what I'm saying? Because like the market here is established. You know what I'm saying? And I want to expand my career. I want to go do other stuff. I want to be able to work in like, you know, bigger markets with bigger artists, and again, just like expanding. It's almost like, you know, franchise up another studio, but it's a completely different concept, and it's, you know what I'm saying? It's not NorthVillage in St. Louis. Like Mixing Boutique is a complete, like you come in there and be like, wow, this is not NorthVillage, but it has that vibe. You know? So, yeah.
So despite all the artists you work with, like artists in the, like what artists would you want to collab with or work with in the industry, or artists that you haven't worked with, and you like what artists would you get the chance to work with you as far as that?
Oh man, I mean, there's so many like super talented people out there that I would love to work with. And I've gotten to like, you know, navigate around those lanes a lot in the first 10 years of my career. You know, done records produced by Metro Boomin and Teddy Walton, and you know, mastered a record with John Cena on it.
Oh
and
yeah,
it's like random stuff like that. Worked with like a lot of like classic hip hop artists and stuff. But I mean, like right now, like I really love like the melodic lane. I think that that's like totally the evolution of the genre and the direction it's going. So artists like Roddy, Kalen for real out of Los Angeles. I've actually mixed a couple of records for him now that aren't released yet. But I mean, he's just blowing up, man. I met him when I went out to LA when I was working with Courtney McAllister.
Okay.
So they're like managed by the same people and stuff. So, and again, it's just like opportunities, advantages. Like find them, go get them. You know what I'm saying? I'm really hoping this year, you know, to tap into a bigger, you know what I'm saying, group of artists. You know, it's like Lil Durk. I'd love to mix Durk. You know what I'm saying?
He's hot.
All that stuff. But I mean, even like rock bands and stuff too, man. Like I did a record a couple of years ago for a local country artist named Jared Turner. He's from Centralia. But now he's like living in Nashville and you know, writing songs for people. And I helped produce his debut album, and we recorded it, mixed it all here, and that record is what got him that contract. So like there's lots of and dude, I love working like with up and coming artists like a lot. You know what I'm saying? And like watching the evolution, because I mean I've been there. Like when you work in Columbia, Missouri, you're not like, it's not like LA where you're working in like a commercial studio. There's 5, you know, in a 1 mile radius of you, and like anybody random just be like walking through the door. You know what I'm saying? That's like huge. You know what I'm saying? And like you could be doing anything from getting them coffee to like actually having to like track or you know whatever. Columbia doesn't.
I was down bad. I had to go and get up off my ass, chasing bags on my way to some more cash.